All right, good morning, folks. My name is Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy death and taxes, and that's what we're going to be playing today. We're going to be trying one of the new cards from our new set here. What is it? War of the Spark. Tomik, Distinguished Advocist. So, in case you're not familiar with it, it's a 2/3 legendary human advisor with flying. Lands on the battlefield and land cards and graveyards can't be the targets of spells or abilities your opponents control. Your opponents also can't play land cards from a graveyard. So, when I initially evaluated this card, my thought was that it would probably be pretty good at the local metagame level. You know, if you have a lot of like lands and Delver and Maverick players and, those sorts of decks locally, it's going to be pretty good to protect your lands from Wasteland, to keep things like Ramunap Excavator from like doing their thing. Stop life from the loam. It stops Turbo Depths or any other Dark Depths deck from using Thespian Stage to copy Dark Depths. So like it has some degree of utility. The body is also comparable but different from Sarah Avenger, so it's not exactly an unreasonable card. So what I always do when I want to test a new card is play too many copies of it. At your local metagame level, it might be fine to play 2 or 3 of these. More generally, at something like an open, it's probably not correct to do so. But if you want to see a card frequently and you can't tutor for it, you need to play multiple copies. So we're going to test 3 today, which is, almost certainly too many. What other changes have I made to build around this? Very few. I'm trying out some Cavern of Souls. This is a human, and if we're playing this and we have some extra built-in wasteland protection, I don't mind trying out this as well. It's done, like, some Cavern builds have done well recently, so let me mute that, sorry. Some Cavern builds have done well recently, so I don't think it's unreasonable to try this out in a world where Stoneblade is one of the most popular decks. Otherwise, everything's more or less the same. The third surgical should probably be a Grafdigger's Cage or some other piece of hate, but there's a lot of red-black Reanimator floating around, and there will be for like 3 more days online. So I just kept it as the third surgical. Yeah, let's just kind of jump into it. I don't know how exactly Tomik will perform, but we will see. My guess is that I won't be overly impressed with it. But I like to, not just talk entirely in theory and actually get some reps in with the new cards. Well, starting the day off strong with a mulligan. I'll be keeping this hand and throwing the Batterskull back. It's not really an impressive hand. I'm doing pretty well. It's a Saturday. Girlfriend's out of town, so I get to kind of be lazy this weekend. Don't really have a lot on my plate. Been playing a little Slay the Spire. Gonna do some grilling tonight. Other than that, no major plans, and that's an okay place to be. I've been quite busy recently. Who knows? I might even like play the Legacy Challenge tomorrow. We'll kind of see how my weekend shapes up. We're kind of hoping my opponent is playing a deck where this like uncounterable Thalia on turn 2 is just going to be backbreaking. Alright, opponent, are you double queuing or something? You had spent a long time tanking on that mulligan decision. And now it's turn 1. What's the holdup? Let's Google you. By Google you, I mean MTG Goldfish you. They say affinity, which means steel stompy. Okay. So, what is he going to have main deck? He's going to have Petals, Opals, Thorns, Jitte, Sword of Fire and Ice. That Thalia might disrupt. It's all not fantastic or anything. Almost all of his threats cost 2, except for Lodestone Golem and Etch Champion. So I don't think shutting off this Mox is actually going to do anything. So I'm going to play the Thalia. I'm holding the Cavern of Souls here because I might need to put it on Elemental for Flicker Wisp. And that decision is not clear at this point. Like, I may need to clear this Chalice to answer some threat that hits the board. Fornia, no you're not. It's a very average card in many matchups. Like, in most matchups, you need to treat it as a 2-3 flyer. It's going to stop Wasteland. It's going to wreck, like, depths and lands and so forth. But it's a little narrow. Okay, so they started to tap the Ancient Tomb and then did not tap it. What does that mean that they could have? I don't think they're playing Warping Whale main deck. Unsure. So, all of my best lines probably involve me drawing another land. Like, I can Recruiter for Jailer. I can Stoneforge Mystic for Jitte. Those require me hitting the 4th land drop for either one of those plays to be backbreaking. I can revoke the Opal, keep the mana squeeze on, and buy time. But I'd rather revoke something on the other side of the bet. Oh, they might have Jitte. No, they have Metalcraft. They could have cast Jitte last turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play towards not drawing a land by just getting a Flicker Wisp, and I can get the Flicker Wisp Recruiter or the guard value, and hope that that's good enough. I'm trying to hold this Revoker If I need to stop something like Walking Ballista or Steel Overseer, I think that's going to be more important than, you know, awkwardly denying this Mox Opal mana. I'm not really sure what's going on the other side of the battlefield. Like, it appears that my opponent has kept their hand on the strength of Ancient Tomb Chalice of the Void, which didn't really work out in this matchup. But, like, they didn't play anything with 3 mana last turn, and, like, basically everything in their deck is less than 3 mana, other than, like, a 1 of Karn. So they might have, like, irrelevant cards, like Mox Opals, Thorn of Amethysts, or things that they can't currently cast, like Karn or Sword of Fire and Ice in hand. Otherwise, it's just, like, extra lands. So I think I'm right about a Mox Opal. Because they went to tap one, and my guess is that they were thinking about playing another Legend Ruling the First to produce mana, and then they realized that Thalia is in play, so that doesn't work. So this is a game which is not showcasing action, but is showcasing how do you think about what your opponent has, and how do you make decisions based on all of that. Because our opponent is kind of giving away a lot of information. You know, I can't 100% verify any of this, but I've got pretty strong hunches that their hand is full of uncastable non-creature spells. Alright, it's been a little while. How's this worded? So this is just really bad against a Flicker Wisp, right? Like, I flicker this, it leaves play, comes back as a 0/0, then dies. Yeah, I'm not too worried about this. I'm getting punished for this being a Cavernous Souls over a Wasteland a little bit, but, like, they just would have wasted the port instead, and I'd be left with white, so it's not like it's that much worse. Is this a Jitte moment? This is probably a Jitte moment. There's an argument for Batterskull since I already have the Sword of Fire and Ice, but, like, Jitte will pick off Ball Scourge, the Factory, can kill the Hangerback Walker or the tokens that follow. We're just kind of hoping our opponent doesn't, like, rip a Walking Ballista. Basic Plains is odd. What does that indicate? All right, well, that's what it indicates. So as long as I can get a piece of equipment onto a flyer, I'm probably going to handily win this game. So I think that means I'm going to be blinking my Recruiter of the Guard this turn, and just getting another Flicker Wisp. Then hope to draw a land, put Sword of Fire and Ice on Flicker Wisp, and close out the game in 2 turns. We don't want to make any attacks here. We don't want to give them Thopters with Hanger back. An Arcbound Ravager as a draw so that they can get a bunch of Thopters would be a little bit annoying. Otherwise, the clock is probably significantly in my favor at this time. Like, if my opponent attacks him with the Vault Scourge, I've got a 2-turn clock. Note that if a Tomik were in play, this Mishra's Factory could not pump this Mishra's Factory. Let's see. Do I want to trade? I can't trade with the factory unless I put 2 things in front of it, which I don't want to do. I can trade Thalia's, which is probably fine. I don't think my opponent's going to have anything that I really care about them casting. What happens if I attack in with my Thalia? The Mishra's Factory is summoning sick right now, so it can't pump itself. Yeah, I think I plan on having this one in 2 turns via the air. So I think I'm okay trading the Thalias. If my opponent has anything that they're going to cast that, like, they couldn't cast with these in play, it probably involves them tapping this Ancient Tomb, which will put them very, very, very close to dead. All right, land, please, to make my life easy. Yeah, that's fine. No land. Well, that's also okay. Would I be alright with trading my Stoneforge for that Revoker? Probably. If I attack in for 4 this turn, puts my opponent to 7, which they can probably prevent. How much could I be facing down? I could be facing down 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I put my opponent to 7, they're dead if I draw a land for Sword of Fire and Ice, and I don't attack with Stoneforge. Or I guess... Okay, so I think it makes sense to do this. Yeah, and they don't block. Now I go Flicker Wisp, blink the Recruiter again. Use the ability, yes. So we've got almost lethal in the air. This Ancient Tomb is now probably untappable, save something like a Walking Ballista draw. We've got a chump blocker if we need it in Recruiter. The next Flicker Wisp will probably target one of my opponent's permanents, whether it's a Vault Scourge to get it out of the way, target the Hanger Back Walker just to blink it and, kill it. So the Recruiter is now expendable. Alright. Will I throw away this for 2 points of life? Yes. Absolutely. I'm very surprised this Vault Scourge is still attacking, by the way. I haven't said that yet, but, holding this back to trade with a Flicker Wisp seems good, given the current board state, but maybe they're trying to do combat math so they actually win the game, rather than to stem the bleeding. Okay, so this was the draw I was kind of afraid of. So my opponent can go and make a ton of tokens. So how do I best get through this? So if they sack literally everything to Ravager, they can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so never mind. I don't think I'm as scared as I thought I was. So they can make a very big Arcbound Ravager and then move the counters here, but they can't actually sack this. So they can only make 2 Thopters. That's not scary. Or I guess 3 Thopters. So, how do I want to wiggle through this? I've got 2 Revokers, I've got a Flicker Wisp. I wish I had 5 mana so that I could Revoker and Flicker Wisp in the same turn. That's not where I'm at. Let's play a Revoker. Let's put the action on them, and then I'll act with the greatest amount of information. I think what's going to need to happen is I'm going to have to potentially revoke the Ravager if it's still on the battlefield, although I don't know that it will be on the battlefield. My opponent might just go and make a big Thopter. No, they're just making a 5/5. Okay. Well, that makes that decision easier. So now I think I just need to hold up my mana to use with Stoneforge Mystic. I'll get to put in my Sword of Fire and Ice. And then I'll hope to, I'll hope my opponent attacks in with not all of their Thopters. Or, well, to rephrase, I'm essentially hoping that my opponent takes a turn in a way that allows me to put in the Sword of Fire and Ice and get them. We'll see what lines they take, though. Proliferate land. Okay. That is interesting. Attack with one more token, please. One more token. Do it. Yeah. Please, whack the attack button. I have a family. Alright, well, that's an annoyance. Now life's a little harder. Alright. So, Really regretting not putting in the Jitte, because it's like so good if I blink this out and then get Jitte counters. So I can handle these with my lands. If I blink out one creature and equip my Revoker, the Revoker gets chump blocked by their Revoker, and I lose both my Wisps. Ugh. Not pleased about this, but I probably can't win if I stay defensive. I mean, maybe I can. Alright, so what if I Wisp out a Thopter, equip the Wisp, attack in, that forces chump block here, then there's all these bodies that come in. It's 2 unblockable. I can block 2 and then die. Alright, so that doesn't work. So I could equip a Wisp, attack in with it, force a chump block. That kills 1 creature for 2 mana. Damn, I think I lost this one. Like, I needed them to attack in with that 1 more creature for me to have it. Yeah, alright, so I think I've lost. So the way I don't lose is by my opponent misplaying, I guess. No, there's probably a better line than what I did. I'm not going to sit here and think about it too much because I think these games are going to go long. And I think I'm dead. I also should have, like, waited for them to animate one of those before doing that. Playing sloppy because I think I'm dead here. Oh, and Feltmaster, good morning, by the way. I was deep in thought and missed that. Thank you for your continued support. Also, like, 14 months. Wow. It's still kind of occurring to me that I've been doing this for that long. All right, so something has to get in front of the Ravager. How do I win this game? Currently, I attack in with all 3 Wisps. If I block with Revoker, all 3 of these get traded with, and then I die on the backswing. If I block with a Flicker Wisp, I just don't know how I can win through all of these bodies at this point. Is the answer just get a Batterskull? Is that timely enough? Like, I can just play Stoneforge and not cast Batterskull this turn, though. See if they can... No. We get to revoke the Ravager. To go and get Batterskull. So if I can get a land, I can put in Batterskull with Stoneforge Mystic and then equip it, but I'm probably dead. So I can tap down the Ink Moth, and tap down a Factory. Like, I need to keep the land around. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 creatures attacking in. I can block 5 of them, so I am just dead. Unfortunate. Our opponent drawing that Ravager on that one turn was really rough for us. Alright, so obviously I don't want my Mother of Runes, and I don't really want my Thalias either. I don't also want Sanctum Prelate, so I'm going to have to, like, keep a lot of it. Like, I guess a pair of Thalias is worth keeping. Yeah, SK Taxi, like, I could spend a little more brain power and, like, probably survive another turn. But, like, where does that get me? Like, there were other turns where I could have played things differently that would have worked better based on what I drew. So, for example, there was a turn where I put in Sword of Fire and Ice, and if I had put in Jitte and then flickered out the Revoker and gotten 2 Jitte counters, I could have, like, helped to clear some of the board. But, like, the lines that I took were good at the time in many cases, but didn't work out. So, for example, I threw away a Recruiter thinking that I had the game locked up, and I was just trying to save some life, and then my opponent drew the Ravager to get a whole bunch of blockers. So, like, then my later Flicker Wisp... Oh, did I not hit submit? And then, so, like, my later Flicker Wisp were a little bit more awkward. Like, there were definite other ways to play that game, and I don't think I played optimally. But, like, I missed multiple very important land drops. This is essentially just like a Batterskull and Jitte hand. It is a little slow. I think I'm going to ship this one and be rewarded with a far worse hand. So I'm going to tutor this back out anyway. And then I want white for this. This hand is probably still better than the first hand. I think this is going to be a Batterskull first sort of game. The Steel Overseer is going to make it so that my Jitte is actually quite weak. So I'm going to hope to remove this and then do a bunch of damage with a Jitte. Yeah, I'm just going to be too slow out the gate this game. This is kind of why I mulliganed the first mediocre hand. D&T feels pretty bad with the new mulligan. It doesn't get better by as much as many of the other decks. And it just, like, Karn me too. Cataclysm would be pretty decent. This Swords to Plowshares is super awkward. Because I can't effectively point it at anything. Like if I point it at Ravager, something else will just get massive. Probably Vault Scourge. If I point it at Steel Overseer, my opponent just sacks it to Ravager. If I point it at Hanger Backwalker, my opponent gets some Thopters. Steel Overseer is probably the scariest card, since it grows 2 other scary cards. But my future removal will be better if I point this at the Ravager. But I don't know that I can just let this card go for multiple turns reasonably. So I'm going to point it at the Overseer. Again, nothing I do here is going to feel good. There's also the possibility that they should just let this resolve and gain the life. Can't reasonably attack with the Batterskull into this Hanger Backwalker. At any time, this Vault Scourge can just become massive. So am I just dead yet? So my opponent can grow the Hanger back, sack the Hanger back, sack. Yeah, so I think I'm just like dead anytime to this. This is like essentially 6 things for Archbound Ravager, 7, 8, 12. Yeah, so I'm just dead if my opponent sees the line. And they don't. So I'll truck on. I have to kind of act under the assumption like they don't know about that trick. Let's see if they don't know about other tricks too. Like I should not probably get any Jitte counters this turn. Yeah. Alright, they know about that one. Hoping the opponent is bad is a reasonable line. Kept me alive last turn. Just have a giant ballista too. Alright, so they shoot down my Tomik and then lethal me in the air. Three, four. Why are you attacking with that Ravager? That means I get to gain life. Or I guess you're just going to move the counters over here and it doesn't matter. Alright, show me that you know how your cards work. So you sack that to that. Then sack the Ravager, move stuff to the Vault Scourge. And I die. Alright. You can also move them to the Ballista. I guess that's fine. And I'll concede rather than make them click through that. I guess there were many ways to skin the cat there, all of which resulted in me being very dead. Alright, so Tomik in that one did, well, nothing. I mean, it was a 2/3 flyer for 2 mana, which is not horrendous. But it wasn't really impressive. Let's see, what have I been up to recently? Kill some time here. Been doing audiobooks while, like, traveling in the car here and there and commuting during the school day, because I travel from school to school. Recently did Ender's Game for the 2nd time. That book is great. Really, really enjoy it. And, I think very much speaks to the mind of many Magic players who are very much in a competitive mindset. You're not kind of familiar with the general idea of it. It's about a kid who's sort of a genius prodigy who's sent off to a battle school up in space where he trains to potentially someday fight against an alien invasion. And he's put through a series of increasingly more ridiculous and unfair games as he gets better and better and better, and the people try to push him to his breaking point. Now, this is a solid hand, especially against like a Delver deck. Surge to Plowshare is a threat, into Thalia, into Prelate. Sandman Slim. I have not heard of that, so absolutely. Please recommend. So right now I'm doing Speaker for the Dead, which is sort of a sequel of sorts. Don't be elves. Man! So I'll probably go and churn through the Ender's Game series. I don't know, there's something like 6 or 7. How's it going? It's going elves. That's how it's going. So there's probably 6 or 7 books in the Ender's Game series, and then I'll move on to something else. I'm not sure what that is yet. Hello! Okay, so I need my opponent to fetch this land, because if I just get Stoneforge Mystic right now, they just will like save this fetch land and get Dryad Arbor, and I don't want them to have that. So instead, I'm just going to play this out, and I know that kind of sounds like blasphemy, but I need to surprise them. There is a world where they might not get Dryad Arbor if... Alright, they got it anyway. Yeah, so the sequel to Ender's Game is much more political than Ender's Game. You know, Ender's Game is largely about battles, and Speaker for the Dead is largely about politics and culture. Very different styles of books, but featuring, you know, the same sorts of characters. That's about as much as I want to say about that, because like both books are very, very, very good, and I wouldn't want to spoil anything about them. It's my first time going through Speaker for the Dead. I read Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow when I was a kid. I started reading, it was either Speaker for the Dead or Xenocide, and didn't really enjoy it. I was too young at the time to really kind of get some of the nuance of what was happening. But I'm really enjoying going back through now. Otherwise, I was listening to a lot of Dean Koontz earlier this year, who does a lot of like mystery coupled with somewhat supernatural elements sort of things. Odd Thomas probably being his most well-known work, or at least I might think that because it had like a Netflix adaptation. Well, Varner, you can see the board. That's about how it's going. Hey, let me say though, Tomik would be a pretty decent draw. Because I'd really like to get a flyer so that I can potentially connect in with this Jitte and start the elf apocalypse. Is it an elf apocalypse if you're killing the elves? Unclear. So Varner, we played against Steel Stoppy in round 1 where it didn't particularly do anything impressive. So I don't have a lot to say in that regard. How's Tomik worded? Lands on the battlefield, can't be target spells or ability. How does this work? No, they can still return the creature as a cost. So that won't stop the bounce. It'll stop some untapping. So I want to port down this Cradle. Oh, you mean MTGO, Tomik? Well, yeah, anything's possible on MTGO. So we'll get the Jitte. We'll port down the Cradle. And we're playing towards drawing a flyer and our opponent not being able to do anything sweet. It might be asking for a lot. The Sanctum Prelate, you know, Thalia port combo here is going to do some work. So I don't feel hopeless about this game. Yeah, Rockman, I'm really digging Speaker for the Dead. I'm on like maybe the last 10th of the book or so. trying to describe my feelings without doing book spoilers. Essentially, I'm very... Hello, friend. Mommy, dearest. Thank you for stopping by. I do so appreciate you being here. Yeah, anyway, I'm really impressed with, I guess the world building is a good way to put it. Like, the setup that has occurred in Speaker for the Dead is very impressive. I mean, Felchmaster, I'm more or less in agreement. Kind of what I said at the beginning of the stream was, I think it's a card that will probably be very good for small local metagames, but I'm not really sure that it's fit for, you know, the metagame more generally. Like, if you have a bunch of lands, Loam, Maverick, Depths, Delver in your metagame, like, you're probably in an okay place for running that, you know, maybe as a multiple of. But I'm definitely trying out too many today to see how they feel. I assume this is going to be like a Birch Floor Ranger, try to help out with the mana issue that my opponent is currently having. Or Heritage Druid, that's just better. Alright, it is officially getting scary. What do you mean, feather? So Mom's going to get me a whopping 2 Jitte counters. We'll see if that's actually going to be enough. I must have missed that one. That one doesn't sound familiar to me. The issue is, like, even if I get Jitte counters, I might just, like, run into the problem of my opponent gets to go Gaia's Cradle Natural Order. Or not Natural Order, like Gaia's Cradle Hardcast, Hoof. I would love to be able to, like, just put in my Jitte in F6, by the way, but I'm too scared of Rex Sage somehow entering play. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next hand step. That doesn't look good to me. Like, what instants or sorceries in red-white do you want to be cast that are targeting that you need to cast multiple turns in a row? Like I don't see that working. Alright, so I can put this on the Sanctum Prelate, attack in, kill both Wirewood Symbiotes, tap down a Cradle, and also play a Mom. Sure, but so does Restoration Angel, without going into a second color. Yeah, so like, creatures with a big butt are nice and all. But you need something more to really make it worth your time. Like, I think there's so many other cards from the new set that are worth trying out over that. Let's see. If I draw a land, I can go Stoneforge, activate Stoneforge, put in Sword of Fire and Ice. Herpa derpa derpa derp. Yeah, that was not surprising. The good news is 2 Wirewood Symbiotes are down, because like Wirewood Symbiote Reclamation Sage is a problematic combo. Alright. Am I willing to stop porting Gaia's Cradle? No, I don't think I am. So how much mana can my opponent make next turn? 3, 6, 7, 8. I guess. So they can already go 3, 6, 7, 8. They can already hardcast Hoof. They can already Green Sun Zenith for Hoof. Maybe I am willing to just stop this. Alright, so like if they tap these and these to cast that, then these untap anyway, and that's enough to kill me. Maybe I am willing to go to town, because then I can shoot the Heritage Druid. And if I do that, well, no, then they have the Cradle mana instead. Yeah, I think this is the time, unfortunately, where like they're gonna beat me if they have something that can beat me. Like I can't deny them the mana that's necessary. So my recourse is hope they don't have it this one turn. Now they probably have it, but I need to hope that they don't. And then in future turns, I can port them after taking out this Heritage Druid. And that might deny enough mana. But if they have it, they have it. And I accept my death. Well, there's a pause. So that means I'm maybe not dead. Isn't that nice? Well, this is good. Oh my gosh. They did not have it. So now I can go Stoneforge and put in Batterskull. If I draw a land next turn, I can equip it here. Yeah, so I think I have my opponent on lethal next turn, because I could hit for 4 and then hit for 6 with this. I'm getting so lucky here. The morph is going to be a Birchlore Rangers. Ah. Well, that was on board. I missed that. That's one of those things I definitely knew about. I just wasn't paying attention to it. All right, so I need to port that. Is it better to put Tomik in play? So if Tomik is in play, no, I want Stoneforge for Batterskull. Because then I can force lethal through. Randy, I think that card is going to be very good in lands, but I don't think this is the right deck for it. Four, 8, 9, 10. Green. Green. Whew! Slogfest versus Elves, and we're up a game. The bad news is we have to win one more. Alright, cards I would consider. Yeah. That's a pile of cards I'm considered. All of those are probably not coming in. But this is stuff that I'd think about. Alright, what don't I want? I don't really want Palace Jailer. And I don't really want Thalia's. Tomik's fine, just for the sake that it flies. And I would definitely consider cutting, like, a piece of equipment as well. Like, the Batterskull's very rarely good. Like, a lot of times you're on Jitte or bust. It just kind of depends on how much of this stuff I actually want to bring in. Like, we can try to, like, mise a free one with Cataclysm, but it's really questionable because Elves tends to rebuild faster than we do due to all their bounce effects. So a lot of times I don't actually board this in, even though it's a way to steal some games. I definitely want this. I definitely want these. I definitely want this. Prelate on 4 into Cataclysm, also strong. Agreed. And then these are kind of the questionable cards, where like they definitely do things that matter in the matchup, but like is Pithing Needle actually worth a card? Not always, because it essentially just stops Wirewood Symbiote. I think these have negative synergy with like the Chalices and Prelates that I'm hoping to lean on to do well in these matchups. So I don't think I'm gonna board those in. I mean, so Hippity Long Ears, I committed hard to a plan, and it ended up working pretty well. Okay. Okay. So this one's questionable, folks. I have Chalice of the Void, which is one of my best ways to fight them. If I play that, then the Swords to Plowshares in my hand is dead, and I actually can't cast the cards that are in my hand. I really want to keep it, but I can't. This hand is kind of great. Like, it has some problems. Like, there's some non-synergistic elements here. Like the fact that there's Containment Priest in an Ether Vial hand. So, in an act of blasphemy, I am going to ship my Vial. I know that's bad, but my plan is cast this sucker on turn 2. I think that's more valuable than going Vial Port and hoping to put this in later. So my hope is that I draw a white source so that I can curve Containment Priest into Sanctum Prelate, or Containment Priest into Flicker Wisp. Flicker Wisp plus Containment Priest is a nuke. So note that when I'm on the draw, if my Chalice was coming down on this next turn here, like, the damage already would have been done. Being on the draw against Elves is so hard. Oh, are you just gonna, like, Operation Hydra me? If you're all in on Operation Hydra, I probably have to board in my Council's Judgments, which is unfortunate because I really don't want to do that. Did you board out all of your good cards? Okay, they're not all in on Operation Hydra. The good news is I am not dead. The bad news is what? Did they not get the trigger? Shouldn't these things be... Oh, it looks like I F6 through my turn. Well, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, so that explains why this thing didn't have the trigger visible on it, is because I had F6 and I went directly to my turn. Alright. We're just gonna ship that one there. Like, I lost anyway. Like, if I just play Containment Priest, they attack for 5. If I play Flickers and get rid of this, like, how am I winning from there anyway? Like, I think I was in pretty bad shape. Maybe not dead, but not... Like, one top deck of, like, a Glimpse of Nature and one dude just puts me in a terrible... Yeah, I don't know. Not in love with this hand. Yeah, Randy, they definitely don't have the Hydra. I think a number of things happened there. Like, I think they didn't realize they were post-combat, and they thought they were going to do 17, and then I didn't realize that I was passing through my turn. It was a mess. Violin my Isamaru, get him! Oh my gosh, one land? One land! Nice. We're not going to attack with the mom. We're not going to win this game on the back of like 1 point of damage here. And I'd rather... Yeah, I guess the attack was safe. I was thinking about, like, I'd rather not open myself up to Abrupt Decay, but if I'm porting in the upkeep, that's not something that can happen anyway. I guess they could have, like, Dismember or something that I can be playing around. Okay, so do I put in Stoneforge here? If I put in Stoneforge, I need a land. If I put in Tomik and I get a land, I can get Jete anyway. Yeah, so I think it's better to put in the more aggressive card here. Well, I guess if I just put in Stoneforge, I have the possibility of putting in Containment Priest off the file. Well, this is awkward. I don't think I'm supposed to play out the Jite. Because if I play out the Jite and my opponent has Reclamation... Well... They have to have it in hand, though. Because I can't green sun for it because I'll get him with the priest. Alright. Punish me with your 1-up in hand. Do it. I'm ready. Here we go. Boy, I really wish I had a white source. Let's not sweat the details, hippity long ears. Honestly, though, if my opponent just, like, produces 77 elves this turn, the Jitte is not doing enough anyway. I feel my death. It cometh. Come on, please just tap out for a green sun. Pontiff would be a D straw if it was in the deck. Maybe D's plus. We could just draw Perish and a Swamp, though. That would be better. Alright, hopefully they just, like, stop here. Can't cast Holy Light. I'm going to leave this at 2. Doesn't matter too much as long as this is around, but something to think about. So I need to give something protection from green. I think it's going to be the Stoneforge Mystic. The Illusion of Hope is here, which is scary. Alright, so Wirewood Symbiote, get out of here. And Heritage Druid, you get out of here as well. So we've got a chance. A Reclamation Sage is bad for us, an Abrupt Decay is bad for us. But if they just have regular old elves in hand or something, or a couple of natural orders or green suns, I might be able to win. Yeah, that's scary. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They can just hard cast a hoof. After all this, am I just gonna die? That's a little upsetting. Like, you can have all the right things in play, and it can just still not be enough. Alright, I'm going to take 30 seconds and run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Hi folks, my name is Phil Gallagher. I run ThrabenU University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes, and that's what we're playing today. We are trying out Tomik today to see if it's okay. Hasn't been overly impressive so far, hasn't been abysmal so far. We'll kind of see how it goes. We are having a rough start to this league. The loss against Elves, it is what it is, and the Steel Stompy matchup didn't break our way at multiple points. See if we can do something better. Our friend Lone Star 16 is 0-4 right now. That is rough. Perhaps they are going and testing some new cards as well. Maybe one of us will win this match. So I'll be keeping this hand. It's kind of like a mana denial centric hand, so we're going to hope that this Thalia is powerful against whatever my opponent is doing. Unclear what my opponent is playing currently. My guess is some sort of bug control deck. Sword Equip, thank you very much for your continued support, and good morning to you. So, what am I doing with the second half of this turn? I think I need to extend further onto the board. In the absence of knowing what my opponent is doing, I think I'm just going to default to some general strategy against Bug, and that's if you get a Batter Skull into play against Bug decks, they cry. It's a little bit less true now that Assassin's Trophy is a main deck out to it. No play yet. That is fascinating. Is there some new card that makes a Lurin good or something? Alright. Deluge. Fair. So be it. My hand's so much softer now. I think I'm going to take my opponent off of double black in fear of some sort of Liliana coming down. So Tomik probably has no relevant text in this matchup other than, you know, the body itself. Alright, so even if I would have wastelanded blue, Jace was still happening. Now I can revoke Jace, hope they don't have another removal spell. Interesting. I would have expected just a bounce there for the tempo. Force pitching, actual factual counterspell. Again, I'm more afraid of them having double black than I am of them having access to one green. You know, one green could mean they could play something like a Leovold. I don't really care about that. Alright. Batterskull's not awesome in the face of Jace, but this is a Jace at 1. So it's not like this germ can be immediately unsummoned. There you go. So I can still Wasteland with Tomik out, in case that's what you were curious about. Push Tomik, Snapcaster push, the germ. It's okay, I can Flicker Wisp and reset this. That's annoying. It was just like absolute perfect mana efficiency from my opponent as well. Just going to take that off of the battlefield. And then I probably just need to pass and return my Batterskull and redeploy it. I don't think I can reasonably expect the Mana Denial plan to do much at this point. I'm somewhat surprised that my opponent is Fate Sealing rather than just like brainstorming. Show me Counterspell. I'm essentially forced to put them to the test here. Yep. I'm just going to get buried by this Jace and Sylvan Library combo. But I think my opponent should be brainstorming with that Jace. Stand still. Fantastic. So I don't foresee myself winning this game with Jace, Sylvan Library, and Standstill. I'm just going to concede this one in respect of my time. Like, I know I'm still at 20, but the damage is done here. Maybe Chalice. Chalice is less good against bug control decks and other control deck types just because they have access to Abrupt Decay. So these are cards that I'm probably going to want. These are cards that I'll consider and maybe not play. Prelate's kind of medium. Kind of feel the same way about Chalice, and I don't really know that my opponent is going to have enough to make Rest in Peace worth it as well. I probably want to cut at least some of these Swords to Plowshares. My opponent could have something like Tarmogoyf either main deck or sideboard, so I might not actually want them. Walking Ballista is in respect of Planeswalkers, in case that's not clear. Yeah, you know, I think I'm probably going to get rid of all of those. And if they have Tarmogoyfs, I might bring some back in. And then maybe we'll trim a Tomik. Like, my opponent probably has some Wastelands, but I'm not overly worried about being Wastelanded. Actually, I boarded a Sanctum Prelate in and a Sanctum Prelate out. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So I guess we'll just keep another one of these bad boys and just have something else that I can protect with Caracas as the game goes very, very, very long. Not super thrilled. Usually against the bug decks, I have a bunch of Mirror Crusaders, and I feel super comfortable with that. But I don't have that today. I'd rather have 5 cards than this. Well, I'll keep 5 of these. I don't think I want the Flicker Wisp. I don't think I want the second Council's Judgment. Our goal is to just play turn 4 uncounterable Palace Jailer and hope my opponent hasn't done anything damning by then that I can't beat. I'd love to draw a 2-drop just so I can have something to do next turn. Chalice of the Void would be stellar if I was playing it, just kind of given current circumstances. But I'd love to draw like a Thalia or a Stoneforge. I'd even accept my good buddy Tomik. Please do a thing. I beg you. I have so few cards. If you have Thoughtseize, just cast it, it'll lose. So if I get him to Turok, what land do I want to have in play? Cavernous Souls on Human is the answer. Do I want to Wasteland you? Don't know. I really only want to Wasteland you if you're missing land drops. So I think I'm going to defer the decision a turn. And just play a Plains. It's not like my opponent is going to cast anything. If they miss a land drop, I will probably Wasteland them. If they don't miss a land drop, I'll slam Palace Jailer and hope for the best. Well, I will Wasteland that before playing Palace Jailer for obvious reasons. Stop that. What's the schedule for today? I'll probably play one more match after this one. I'll play 2 if I win this one, but I don't feel good about my chances of winning at this time. So I think I'm just going to wait and play Palace Jailer when I'm on 6 mana. I'd 100% be up for playing something spicy, but I'm not going to do a second league today. So that could happen either Monday, Wednesday, or next Saturday. Still going to stay the course of porting. I'm really looking forward to trying out some of the new cards, by the way. So I could play Uncounterable Palace Jailer and Mom. Is that good enough? I would eat it to double removal spell very badly. No, I think I just want to continue making land drops. I'm not taking any damage at this time. I can just build up my hand to be better and better and better. Yeah, Seraphix, I expect this one to go long. It's not going to be pleasant. Now I can Palace Jailer and double Mom. But I think I'm still incentivized to wait. Like if I can go Palace Jailer, double Mom, and Port or something like that, that's just so much stronger. I also want to be closer to my maximum hand size when I go off and do this. Lorifix, that's why I would like hold back a port activation. Yeah, now I'm at the point where my opponent is discarding. Oh, they have Loam. Tomik would do something. Hello, Cataclysm. Next turn, if I don't draw a land, it's probably the point where I need to start casting some of this stuff. Okay. So, ideally, I'd like to Cataclysm and Tomik so that my opponent can't get a bunch of shit back with Life from the Web. That's an ideal world. Yeah, I think there's some amount of counter magic left. I think there's less, but I think there's still got to be some. All right. Let's break this. My opponent will go up to a bunch of cards. That's okay. So there's a very real chance that my opponent is going... Oh man, are you going to force this? Are you going to force this even though it's uncounterable? I will be so happy. No Hibbity Long Ears. I think I do this play expecting to lose the Monarch. Like, my opponent is going to have a bunch of cards, and I think I just accept that. Like, giving them one more card isn't all that big of a deal in the current board. And I'm going to, like, lean on this Cataclysm play to get me back in the game. And I think I'm going to want this Aether Violin play to set me up. Yeah, Lord Darkview. He definitely read the blue line there. Another standstill. Cool. Yeah, so like if my opponent's already at the point where they're discarding cards, I don't think, you know, they're gaining a ton by being the Monarch. Yeah, a Thalia would be wonderful if I had one. If they draw a force, they might just force this purely for the sake of, like, tempo, really. So now I can try the Cataclysm and then play a second land. and Mom. I'll be a little behind on board. YOLO. Do you have second for us? Excuse me. I think I'm going to keep my Cavern. I know there's some argument to keep the port, but I don't think my opponent is going to keep their Mishra's Factory. I think they're going to keep a green producing land. So then I need to hope that they don't Life from the Loam this turn, and that they do something to get rid of the Mom, and then I'll play Tomik so that they can't get lands back. Alright, they get back to Loam. But there's still a very good chance that they just take the Mom off the battlefield this turn, and then Loam next turn. I hope they Loam now, which is super unfortunate for me. But it does mean I have a Mom. And I don't think I can take that trade. Because I can just attack back and become the Monarch. So I guess I can play Tomik, gum up the board. Okay, so if I play Tomik, attack, I become the Monarch, then my opponent just attacks. I need to take this Snapcaster Mage off the battlefield so that I can become the Monarch. No, I want to try to take and keep the Monarch. Right, but if they have one removal spell in their 8 cards, then I eat it to that. And then in future turns, like say I draw a land in 2 cards, then I can deploy potentially 2 cards. Seems weird for me, for them to not, like, take the Mother of Runes off the battlefield there. I mean, I'm wiggling. My opponent's still up a lot of cards, but the game's probably actually much closer to even than it looks. Oh, please tap some more mana. So my opponent played a land. No. Which means I should give this pro black for Fatal Push rather than pro blue, because I already, like, beat this. Creeping Tar Pit is very annoying. I'd love to draw a Wasteland. No such luck. So now my opponent can spend their entire turn in order to take the Monarch back. How do I want to deal with that? I think I will allow them to do that, and then make my board better. And just get super wrecked by a Toxic Deluge. I mean, I accept that trade. I think keeping the Monarch is extremely important here. If you had Ponder, I think you probably do that pre-combat to try to look for a push to like guarantee the fact that you can become the Monarch. Alright, no way that they can become the Monarch this turn, so I'm guaranteed to draw another card. Stoneforge is a great draw. Like anything that I could play for 2 mana and provide some pressure on the board is just very good. And I think I'm just going to get the thing that's a standalone threat here. There's some argument for just playing out Aether Vial this turn, because like the long-term benefits are very high. So, what is this? That's devastating. That's an answer to the Batter Skull, which I was really hoping to lean on. New Davin is not even on my radar as something that's particularly good, if I'm being honest, Rish. So what am I doing with my life? How am I winning this game? Honestly, I probably need to Council Judgment away the Pernicious Deed, as much as that sucks. I just don't see myself winning this game if that gets to stick around. And then I can also play a Vial. Only half joking, but there's also a very real possibility that I can deck my opponent for a win. I think that was a very bad Abrupt Decay, by the way. I think if they're planning to aggro me out, they can just hold back that Abrupt Decay and use it to get rid of any blocker. Like, for example, an Abrupt Decay on this Stoneforge Mystic is so much more valuable than an Abrupt Decay on that Vial. So if my opponent's hand is anywhere near weak currently, I'm probably fine. But if their hand is strong, full of removal, or things that can get them to removal, I'm in trouble. Like, if both of these creatures eat it, I do just take lethal here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't think both the creatures can eat it, like, and they can kill me, but they can probably effectively put me dead. But if I start getting some Jitte counters or some forward sort of Fire and Ice triggers, I can probably turn this one around. Stoneforge dies. Tomik dies. I'll only take 2 this turn, but my prospects of living through 3 bodies are poor. So if I play Batterskull, I block, and my opponent just attacks in with this, I go to 2. If my opponent attacks in with everything, I stay where I'm at. Yep. 1 removal spell has me dead. 1 Force of Will has me dead. A Jace the Mind Sculptor has me dead. Alright, I'm dead. So D&T has its real advantages. Your early game sucks against a bunch of the combo decks, you know, like, it's very clear when you get paired against, like, Black-Red Reanimator that, like, alright, if they turn 1 you, there's just literally nothing you can do about it in a Game 1 scenario. But as the game goes long, you actually have a lot of ways that you can try to wiggle through tough spots. Like, I'm having a terrible run today, but I feel like I played that game quite well. The one against Steel Stompy, that was not necessarily played well. Let's do one more. I'm dead for prizes, but I wanted to stream until like 11 or 11:30. So let's do one more. Well, Tomik hasn't done anything cool. Like, there were situations in that game where if my opponent hadn't loamed when they did, Tomik would have been devastating and, like, probably game winning. But there actually hasn't been a situation yet where Tomik has gone and done anything. It's just been a 2/3 flyer, which hasn't been that bad, but it hasn't been that good. Seraphix, it does do some things to certain manlands. So, for example, Mishra's Factory can't go and pump itself or can't go and pump other Mishra's factories. Like, that's something that could have come up in the Steel Stompy matchup, but didn't really come up. So, like, there's some things going on there. Oh, and I missed this a while back, but Tommy from Rugrats, thank you very much for following. If you're still here, I hope you're enjoying the content. Our hand is amazing. Alright. Maybe playing against a combo deck, maybe playing against Miracles. If I were a Twitch chat member, I'd say, that looks like a Miracles Island. And I would have been wrong. Good thing I didn't say that. So, I want to throw the first Tomik into a removal spell, since I have a second one. Assuming my opponent is playing something like Grixis Control now. I think that's just a better line than Stoneforging Blind. Are you just going to be playing against another bug deck? No. Yep. Why are people trying bug decks? What new bug toy is there? Oh, hey, that was you. That was quite an interesting game. Enjoyed that one a lot. I was very convinced I was dead far, far sooner. But it ended up being okay. So I'm going to Stoneforge in, get a piece of equipment, and attack with it on Tomik next turn. Yeah, I remember you from Richmond. I haven't watched your stream in a while, but I used to tune into that occasionally. I haven't been watching much Twitch content recently. I've been watching more YouTube content. You know what? Just get out of here. Yeah, I've been super addicted to Slay the Spire recently. Ah! So it's going to be like 4-color Punishing Deck. In which case I probably want to get my Sword of Fire and Ice with the Stoneforge Mystic. Strifopile confirmed. Leovold's fine. Yeah, Sword of Fire and Ice definitely feeling worse now. Definitely not bad, but feeling worse. I kind of still want to get it and just put it on Revoker and just protect the Revoker from Punishing Fire and just clock the living bejesus out of my opponent. It's either that or get Batterskull. So if I get Sword of Fire and Ice, I can just attack with it this turn, and then in future turns, I can just Karakas the Leovold away and then actually draw my card. Alternatively, I just get Batterskull, bounce Leovold, attack in for 4. But I think I still want this sword. It's very good. I want to get this active. So I can get this active, put in sword, bounce Leovold. That seems like a great turn cycle. Go want to do this now and push 2 more damage? Or do I want to wait and then they can't redeploy it? No, I don't care if they redeploy it. Like, if they redeploy it and that's the best thing I got going for their turn, I literally do not care. I'll be so far ahead. Does Strifopile have a Deluge? I really hope not. It'd be so bad. What would I like to point my Abrupt Decay at today? That makes sense. My cards have many words. Tomik ruins all of these. We'll leave these at 2 for Tomik reasons. Toxic Monk, thank you for following. Hope you're enjoying the content. I want to protect this. So let's equip that. I would be fine with trading Stoneforge Mystic for Baleful Strix and then just like pushing 2 more damage. But I guess I can keep this body and shoot the Strix. I'm going to play this a little patiently. Let's just make the Strix not relevant. A Recruiter. What does a Recruiter do? Unfortunately, this turn I think Recruiter does nothing. Like, I can go and Recruiter for Athalia and, like, really press to the board hard. Maybe I'm supposed to do that. Like, I was thinking about wastelanding this, but I can just do that next turn. I don't think he has a Deluge, though. If he had a Deluge, like, last turn was a great turn to Deluge. So I have 6, 7, 8, 9 power on board. I don't think I'm going to play around a 1-of here. If I get Deluged, I still have, like, Tomik, Vile, Sword of Fire and Ice. But if I don't get Deluged, I don't see how I lose this game. So, am I fine with attacking with everything and losing this Revoker? Yes. So I'm actually in very good shape now because I have like Caracas to bounce Tomik or Thalia plus another backup threat in my hand. Yeah, that's not scary. Strix is a little annoying, but I think my opponent's facing lethal, right? So I bounce Leovold, they block something with 2 power, and then they're dead on board. We just confirm, right? Like, or no, I guess they take... Yeah, they're dead. Alright. What am I doing with my life? Council Judgment, Prelate seem good. Cataclysm seems good. Ballista seems okay. Chalice is probably on the wrong side of playability. Rest in Peace is probably close. Pithing Needle probably close. Unclear on Surgicals. May consider, but seem kind of loose. So I don't want Swords to Plowshares. That I'm pretty sure of. And most of the other stuff just seems like fine. I can probably trim a little bit here and there. Like, I can see myself trimming a Flicker Wisp since there aren't too many targets on the other side of the table that I want to flicker. So, like, I want those 100% for sure. And then any of the rest of these that I want to play, I need to board something else in for. I probably need to respect Punishing Fire at least a little bit. Like, the Tomics live through it, which is nice. So like, normally this is a case where I trim a generic beater, but this one actually does something in the matchup that's relevant, which is what's making my boarding decisions harder. Alright, what if I, like, pull a Jitte and pull a Stoneforge and just trim that package a little bit? Then I can play, like, a Rip and a Surgical and have a couple answers to the Punishing Firelock. That seems okay. I also could have boarded out a land reasonably. I'll keep this. And I will probably just go ahead and slam a turn 1 Pithing Needle, given the opportunity. Well, I think Thalia is just objectively the best card in that hand. So I think you take that more or less no matter what. If my opponent was on a deck with a less wonky mana base, I really would have considered, like, Surgicaling an Underground Sea. I'm basically only hoping to Surgical Punishing Fire. Like, that's basically the only card. Like, there's other things that I would surgical, like if they're a Snapcaster target, for example. But surgical's here for a very, very specific reason. Yeah, that's correct, but that requires multiple pieces of setup. Please discard Punishing Fire for me. Do it. Fucking do it. You won't. You coward. Aw. So I don't think I want to needle the deck. It's very tempting to. Hell, maybe I should. What is their hand if they discard these two cards? These are very good cards. So you mean that they're going to have a Jace further down the line? Like land Jace? Which would be super bad for me. Alright, you know what? I'm not happy with this. Well, Tipsy, if I don't take the deck, the line is end of turn, Sword of Fire and Ice, hope to draw land so that I can, like, equip Sword of Fire and Ice and play Pithing Needle. Well, that is rough. Lost a lot of tempo to that. Decay and Strix gone. Does his deck fold on Prelate on 2? Because it seems really good. Oh yeah, I mean, I know there are outs, but like he's got Decay, Push, Edict, P-Fire. Like I'm shutting off a lot of outs to creatures. Yeah, you can Inquisition me. I also do have to just respect Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper. I think I'm too afraid of Snapcaster Mage to attack. I'm gonna just reset the loyalty of Dak down to 3. with a Flicker Wisp and just like get that into play. Like the Stoneforge Mystic isn't really doing a ton until. Actually, I guess it's better to like Flicker Wisp and then port. Super good there. You're going to target Brainstorm. I'll trade this for a card. I don't love doing it, and I'm aware that this is a bait, but I accept. Opponent's hand is gas. Alright, but at least I know about the Pernicious Deed. No, there's only one surgical. Unfortunately, their K command is going to be really good. So they can like K command, blow up Prelate, get back a Baleful Strix, and then like a Dak Phaeton ultimate can be problematic. Yeah, I've got like 3 in the deck, but I only boarded 1 in. I boarded in 1 surgical, 1 rip. So they have K command. So I can't just like play the sword and magically get there. That's not going to work. Let's see if they will give me a hit on Dak Phaeton. Yeah, this is not a good situation. So the K command's gone. The Pernicious Deed is still there. I can't just play out the sword, or you'll steal it with the Dak. Which means I need to go Wasteland this. Stoneforge for my Batter Skull. And then port them off of Baleful Strix mana. Dak is doing so much filtering. Council Judgment would be stellar. Like, I legitimately feel like I can probably win this game if I can get... Oh, please don't have Punishing Fire. Well, I guess Punishing Fire is not an immediate problem. To finish that thought, I feel like I can win this game if I can get that DAC off of the battlefield. There's no world where I just don't like cast this turn, right? Like, yeah, yeah. I get to keep a prelate and a plains to my opponent's one land and snapcaster. Although honestly, I could just like keep the Stoneforge Mystic. And then one land gets me to Batterskull. Like, if my opponent's floating mana, that might mean they have a second Snapcaster Mage and their plan is just aggro me out. I think this is a close decision. Hope they don't have click. Yeah, but if I draw 2 lands, I beat this very easily. If I draw a land and a 2-drop, I beat this very easily. That's an annoyance. That's just how everything is breaking tonight. Take calculated risks with no payoff. Now I probably have to trade, because otherwise I'm just going to be on a 2-turn clock. It really sucks. No, I've just had abysmal luck with D&T. Like, I've not cashed, I think, my last 3 D&T leagues I've played, which is ridiculous. Yeah, like, even if I kept the Stoneforge, it didn't matter, right? We haven't had too many Vile starts. I don't think I want to change anything. Like, I really only want to draw 1 Surgical Extraction the entire game. Like, there's the Snapcaster Mages, the Culligan's Command, and the Punishing Fires that are impacted by the Graveyard Hate. Like, it's possible that I should play 1 more, just because it's so, in the moments where it's good, it's so good. But every card that is a land, or sorry, every card that is a surgical is something that's not killing them unless I board like one of these out for a land. The opponent only has 1 Force of Will in their deck, so I can probably safely trim one of these and not feel bad about it. No, you keep reasonable hands. Like the London Mulligan hasn't changed that. It just makes you a little more comfortable in throwing away mediocre sevens. I will be keeping this like Vile into Port U into Thalia and Mom is going to be very strong. It'll suck if our Vile gets Force Willed, but our opponent's only playing one Force in the configuration they showed us last game. Yeah, Strifopile is a really hard matchup. Like you gotta get lucky. There's no two ways about it. Like the more haymakers you're playing, the better, because the games go very long, and like the more copies of things like Karn, Gideon, Cataclysm, Palace Jailer you play, the better. Yeah, that's what I said. Strifopile, Nightmare Pile, they're synonyms. Got a very good setup for the Vile here. Why would you fetch that? They're giving me the option of what to do on this turn. Does that mean you want me to port the swamp and give you the island? That's what it seems to mean to me, so I'm going to port the island. Oh, this game's certainly winnable. Like, we're very favorable. Our opponent says, what a lucky start. Okay, sure. I'm going to continue to attack the island, just because it's what I've been going after, and it shuts off the sorcery speed stuff. It's possible that I should have, like, flicker with another land. I just wasn't paying enough attention to think of that. But it doesn't look like it mattered. How do I want to do this? I can just wisp out a land, port a land, and that avoids a 3-drop for a turn. I don't care about any 1-2-drop yet. And then in future turns, I can go and put the prelate on 3. What do I want to deny this turn? They have second Punishing Fire. They can just cast it now, so I'm not actually denying that. So I just want to continue. Actually, I don't really care about denying cantrips at this point. I'd rather deny something like a Baleful Strix. I guess this also does that, though. Oh, wow, they're in such a bad situation that they're going to cast a Preordain. That's great for me. Alright. Now, what? What am I scared of? I can Wasteland Grove so that K-Command isn't a card that I care about. I basically only care about Toxic Deluge. So I'll probably put my Prelate on 3. You want a Snapcaster Mage, I will 100% trade that for Recruiter and not tap Mom. It's okay with me. No, he doesn't have a Golgari Charm. So I need to worry about Deed and Deluge. It's 1 Deluge, 1 Deed. I don't really care about Dax stealing Vial. I do think I want to just permanently answer this, though. I don't really want to give them red mana on their turn because of this. Yeah, but there's top deck lands, and that matters. No, opponent, don't concede. I was literally just about to type, don't concede if you're dead. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and drop from this league here. I don't think there's a reason to play this one out, and I'm also pretty hungry. So Tomik never did anything all that cool today, but just as a 2/3 body, it was not bad. So, like, this is a reasonable thing to try out in the flex slots. But if over the course of, 4 matches, there was never a single scenario where I'm like, oh, man, this card was really good here, that's probably an indication that you shouldn't be playing this card unless you have a good reason to. It's not a bad 2-drop. Like, just a 2/3 flyer for 2 that happens to hose a couple of matchups really hard is certainly playable. Yeah, not being searchable with Recruiter is a pretty big deal. Note that if you were playing, like, Red Taxes and you were playing Imperial Recruiter for some reason, like, you could search it then. Yeah, would Avenger have been better in this league? Not noticeably. Tomik might even have been better than Avenger in this league, where we weren't going and playing against anything that was just, like, totally degenerate or anything. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. So, like, just having an Avenger that you actually can cast on turn 2 is worth something. Is it worth losing those stats? Unclear. But this is definitely a card that I would be willing to consider, like, testing more in the future. Although it wasn't impressive today, it wasn't bad today. If we played against a bunch of, Delver, Lands, Dark Depths, I'd have a totally different impression of this. But as of right now, I'll stick with what I said at the beginning of the stream. I think it'll be great at the local metagame level, and kind of like this more generally, where a lot of times you don't see the huge impact that it can actually have on games. Meatball Sparker, thank you very much for following, by the way. I missed that one a couple minutes ago. And Splinter Fight as well. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here for the morning. I will be back on Monday. I'd love to see some donation deck lists with some of the new things that are from WAR, War of the Spark. So, my information's below the stream if you're interested in that. So again, I'm streaming every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, so follow if you enjoy good Legacy content. I'm going to ship you over to someone who is playing Legacy Nickbit. So good night, folks. Good afternoon.